Hi, this is David McCann for WebTNG. In this video, I'm looking at a new Gutenberg plugin called GutenKit. It's from Wpmet. They're a company who has made a number of popular plugins. And just this past May, they released a beta of the Pro version of GutenKit. Since its release, the Pro version has gotten a lot of updates and new features have continually been added. However, it is still new, so we might run into some issues. We'll see as we go through the video. What I'm going to do is a general overview of the features that come with GutenKit, and then I'm going to go into the site editor and try to make templates, a single and archive template for a custom post type using the GutenKit blocks. Okay, here we are on WordPress.org in the plugin directory. Just showing you, here are a couple of other plugins made by Wpmet. Metform is one. It's got 400,000 active installs. Elements Kit is another one. It has over 1 million active installs. Both of those plugins are for Elementor. Then here is the GutenKit page, and you can see it's got 7,000 plus active installs. Okay, so kind of on the newish side. It's got 10 5-star reviews, and there are no support requests in the last 2 months. Okay, this is the GutenKit website. If we look at the features, we can see it has a query loop builder, and we'll be looking at that. Then it has glass morphism, copy-paste style, mega menu builder. Dynamic content, which we'll be using, is in beta. Parallax effects, one-page scroll, motion effect, custom breakpoints, among others. This is a large block collection, 90 blocks in total. Obviously, we're only going to be using a few of them. But what we see here is that I think the GutenKit team has taken the large number of features from their popular Elementor plugin and brought that kind of engineering knowledge that they had for developing the features for Elementor over to Gutenberg. So this is a large plugin collection that has lots of stylistic variations and creative types of blocks. One thing I'll point out is notice this upcoming tag. So advanced search, comparison table, hotspot, image morphing, motion text, particles, and table of contents are upcoming features. And actually, during the process of making this video, several features have moved from upcoming to being released. So this is something they're working on very actively. There's a large template library, which we'll take a look at a little bit inside of a demo site. There are some help resources, but the documentation isn't super extensive. Then if we look at pricing, we'll see that they have yearly and lifetime prices for 1, 5, and unlimited sites. Now at the time that I'm making the video, it is up on AppSumo. So if you see this video shortly after its release, I would check AppSumo to see if GutenKit is still available. The lifetime packages are a bit cheaper on AppSumo. I'll put a link in the video description. Let's just go down and look at the licensing. We have 3 sites for $59, 10 sites for $119, and unlimited for $199. Let's go now to a test site that I have. This is using the 2024 theme, the default theme, because we're going to be trying out GutenKit in the site editor. If we go look at the plugins that I have installed, I have ACF installed, which I use to create a simple custom post type called books. I have all-in-one migration installed for backing up the site and refreshing it between testing cycles. And then I have the free version of GutenBlocks and the Pro version of GutenBlocks installed and activated. And this is one of those plugins where you need both the free and Pro installed to use Pro. When you activate GutenKit, you get a new menu item, and the welcome page largely has links to YouTube and their help documentation and some demos where you can kind of get an idea of the different styles of their blocks, to their Facebook community, and so on. Then if we look at the list of blocks here, you can see I have them all activated. So there are quite a few. One thing I'll note is some of them have a freemium tag, and those are ones where the block is available in the free version, but there are more features available in the Pro version of the block. So like the nav menu, for instance, we all know how anemic the core nav block is. So this improves on that quite a bit. And the Pro version allows you to create mega menus. Off canvas, similar type of thing. There are more features in the Pro version. And one thing to note that I don't have installed is they have a table builder block, which you install separately. Then there are modules. These are not blocks, but maybe style and other features that are added to enhance blocks or for interacting with WordPress and the Gutenberg editor in general. So we have things like an icon pack, page settings. That would be, for instance, not for Gutenberg itself, but for interacting with the site. And we have style effects like glass morphism, CSS transform. We have advanced tooltip, one-page scroll for making, one-page websites. The dynamic content feature, sticky breakpoints, custom breakpoints, copy-paste styles, visibility, scroll effects, entrance animations, mouse tilt, mouse track, interaction, smooth scroll, display conditions, custom CSS, masking, and pop-up builder. Okay, so quite a few advanced features. If we look at settings, these are the integrations here. Okay, a lot of them are upcoming. These are advanced options. For example, here's one for user consent. If you want to have messaging and promotions showing in the WordPress dashboard, so that's nice. That's an opt-in. This one's for if you're using the template library, whether or not you want to download the images that go with the templates, things like that. And then a place where you enter your license and kind of an ad for their other plugins. So let's create this page so we can look at some of the general features. Here you have the options for creating custom breakpoints. Okay. These are the GutenKit page settings. So you can set your margin and padding, your background, and some place for custom CSS, and options for enabling one-page scroll. Okay, here we have the option to enable smooth scrolling. And over here we have their template library. Pretty big template library, 554 items. Now some of these are pages, kind of in different style kits. So like style 23, you might have several pages from quote unquote style 23. And you find those in these template kits. So for example, this one has 7 pages. Okay, and then the patterns are maybe sections out of those pages that you can bring in separately. The style number and the name in parentheses is kind of your hint for trying to get like a consistent style if you want to mix and match these. Quite a few options here. One thing I noticed is that there are some of these that are using the blocks from GutenKit that you could bring in to kind of reverse engineer some of the settings to see how they work. Like here are some that have a mega menu or off canvas, so you can see how they've created their mega menu and use the off canvas option. Okay, so that's the template library. Then here are the blocks. The GutenKit blocks have this little style G at the top. That's how you tell it apart from core blocks. Otherwise, they're the same color as the core blocks. So there are some blog or post blocks, like here's a blog post, and then here's like a post tab, post grid. One thing I noticed about these is they are post only. So there's not an option to use those blocks for custom post types. They do have this query builder block is the one that you use for working with custom post types. Let's just add a block so we can look at some of the block settings. This is the heading block. If we look on the contextual toolbar, you'll notice there's the option for dynamic content. And most of the blocks that have support for dynamic data have this icon on the contextual toolbar, except the images, as we'll see, have it on the side options over here. Another feature on the contextual toolbar is you have the GutenKit copy style and paste style. That's where you find those features. Then if we look at the block options, all of the blocks have 3 tabs. You can see that, like the heading block, you can set the HTML tag, which you can do with most heading blocks, but it has the options for these little style extras, like showing a border or having a subtitle or title description or shadow text or separator. So those are kind of little extras. This is the style tab. And then the advanced tab, I wanted to show you this because this is pretty much the same for all of the blocks. You have kind of the margin padding, layout options, position options, but then the advanced style options are all consistent. So you have background options for classic, gradient, and image. You have border options for border and box shadow, motion effects for scrolling, mouse tilt, mouse track, entrance animations, loop animations. Okay, you have visibility, which are by device size. You have glass morphism options. You have CSS transform options. You have advanced tooltip options, sticky options, interactions, display conditions, and now these aren't the visibility by device size, but are more advanced options for more dynamic data type things. For example, you can have display options by post data, user data, date and time data, browser operating system, current URL, or referral URL. And then the option to enter custom CSS. per block. So those are the kind of general features available with the block collection. Okay, before we go into the site editor, let's take a look at the custom post type. You can see I have a bunch of book records here. And we have the title, the content, we have the featured image, we have a custom taxonomy called genres, and then we have two custom fields, a URL field to link to the author's website and an image field with the author's photo. Now let's go into the site editor and try to make our templates. Let's go to templates. We'll add new template. And we'll want a template. Let's start for the single item book. Have it for all books. We can choose a starting pattern. This is, from the theme, not from GutenKit. I'm going to just skip that. And now I think we need to first add our header. And then after that, we'll add our footer. Okay. So Gutenberg doesn't add those automatically. We'll add before the footer a GutenKit container block. And we'll choose this one here. One thing I wanted to show you or mention is that if we look at the list of blocks, you want to make sure this has actually come in between them. Gutenberg site editor thing is occasionally, when you add a block, it'll add it inside the footer or inside the header. So we're good here. And you'll notice how this is default full width, and we want it to kind of more align up with the spacing margins here. So I'm going to go to the container width custom, and I'm going to set this for 80%. Okay, and that gets us pretty close here. Maybe we could try, like 84%. Okay, so we've got that, and then we want a little space from the top and bottom. So let's go to the Advanced tab, Layout, and we'll add some at the top and at the bottom, just so it's not right up against the header and footer. Okay, now let's add to the GutenKit Advanced image. And this is like I was saying, for the image, the dynamic data option is over on the side here. So I'm going to click that. We'll have the featured image, which is the book cover. Okay, and I'll apply. Okay, then in this column, let's add the heading block. And we have to delete the placeholder text out manually. And we'll choose the post title. These are the options, for dynamic data. They're post, archive, site, author, user, and then ACF. Okay, so it's nice how they give you the option for a fallback. Then we're going to try to add the post meta. And I'm doing that to show some of the flexibility or whatever of GutenKit. I'm going to add a container. You'll see that now this has gone into kind of row mode. Okay, so I'm going to go here and grab this container and put it up inside of there. And then we have item properties, and this is basically giving us our flexbox options. So I want this to be a row. Then I'm going to go to this container, and I want this to be columns. Now I'm going to add another container here, and inside this container, let's add a advanced paragraph. Okay. And again, we have to delete out the placeholder data. And in this paragraph, we're going to say by, and then we're going to duplicate it, and in this one we'll do dynamic data, and we'll do author display name. Okay, and then in this one, let's duplicate that, and we will say on. Okay, and then we'll duplicate this, and in this one we'll do dynamic data, the published date. Now I'm going to place these into that container. All right, and then under this, let's add the post content. And this is going to come outside of that container. And again, we want this. Whoops. Now let's save, and we'll go to the front end of the site, see how we're doing so far. So we go to books, and this is what we've got so far here. The data is showing we need some spacing between these items. This is all stretched out. This is aligned center. So let's go back to the editor and fix those things, and then add some dynamic data. Let's go to the main container here. Let's have this align start, and then let's go gap between columns, let's say 30 pixels, and then if we go to margin, bottom, let's say 15 pixels, and then for the post meta, margin, let's add some at the top and bottom. And then for the post meta also, let's go into this container. Let's go into these blocks, and notice that for width they have an option for inline. So we're going to want to set these, I think, to be inline, and then I guess I should have done that before I duplicated them. And then we will go here, and we'll have these align start, and we'll do a column gap. Let's try, 4 pixels? Let's try that. And let's also go here and have these line items center. Okay, let's save and see what we've got. Refresh. Okay, it's looking a little better. Now let's add some dynamic data. So we'll go to this container and we'll add after another advanced image. Okay, and we'll go to dynamic data. This time we'll do advanced custom fields. I like this interface. You choose your field group and that gives you the options of the fields, and it's filtered out the ones to the appropriate options. Okay, so I apply, and let's go to the container and let's set that to be column mode. This image will go and we'll give it some margin at the bottom. Okay, and then below this image, let's add a button block. Okay. There's no option to set the dynamic data for the button text. Let's do visit author's website. Let's do away with the icon. Let's align it center. Let's go to the dynamic data, advanced custom field, and select author's website. All right, and we'll save. And let's refresh. Okay, we can add a bottom margin there. Save. All right, so here's our dynamic data. We have the image of the author's photo, and we have a button. Let's see if the link works, and it does. Whoops, I misspelled that. Okay, so that's our single, and that worked pretty well. I'm happy with that. Let's go now and create the archive template for books. Archive book. Okay, we can choose a pattern again, but we're going to skip that. Let's add our header. And below that, add our footer. And then above the footer, let's add a container block. And we'll go with just the single column here. Let's check to make sure it's between the header and footer. It is. Now let's give it some margin at the top and bottom. Okay, and let's go to custom, and I think that was 84% we did before. Okay, now in this container, let's add the query builder. So it says start blank here. I think that's kind of mislabeled because, as I'll show you, when you click on it, it gives you the option to pick the starter format. And if we skip that, we go back in a circle to pick. So it's required. So I think it should just be, start or continue or something. But anyway, I'll pick this one. Okay, and by default, you see it's picked posts. I'm just going to save here. And let's go and see what this looks like. Okay, and you see it says inherit query from template. Since we're an archive book, I'm kind of expecting these to be books. So it's not showing in the editor like that. If we go to the archive, it's showing posts. Okay, so I'm just pointing that out. If you may need to set this manually if you're not wanting to show posts. You can have query type for post terms, users, and comments, so that's nice. We go into edit the query. First thing is we can pick book here. So it's nice to have that flexibility. You can select whether it's in like a category or there's a parent or it's not in. Okay, you can do a taxonomy query, a meta query, a date query, author options, MIME types, comment status, post status, password, order. We'll go ahead and do that. Title, descending. Pagination, we want pagination. I think if we leave it blank like this, it's going to show the default pagination, which is fine. And then there's an option here. Notice a lot of these, they have a little help bubble here. And so display posts based on keyword search. So that's a nice option. Those are our query options, query builder options. If we look here, you'll notice that query then has a template. Okay, and so this is where we make changes to the layout and the content is inside the template. And see, it's got the blocks in there, so that's flexible. We can go and add and remove blocks. Now, in the ideal world, I wanted to create a layout like we did for the single, where we have the featured image on the left, and then the title, post meta excerpt on the right, and then do the same thing we did, add like say the author's photo or something like that, just to show that we can add custom fields to the archive. Okay, but what I found was I went and I added before, and what I wanted was to add the container. Let's duplicate that. And we'll duplicate that. Okay, so I wanted to have a container. What I noticed though was that you can't put, see it has the do not allow sign. You can't put any blocks inside a container when it's inside the query template. The query template does not allow the use of a container. So that limits our layout options quite a bit, I think. It's not a showstopper, but it's something to be aware of. All right, so what that means though is that we're going to want to do a grid type of layout. Let's go ahead and set the style of the image. See, they're different widths. So let's set a width so that they're the same size. Now it's not centered here. I wonder if we can go to, even though it's showing centered there, wonder if we can go into margin and do like, can we do auto? Nope, so it doesn't like that. Can we do something like 50? 50. That may be working. We'll see how that goes. We do have this here, which is for terms. And it doesn't have the option to do the genre. Let's see if we go to custom. Nope. Okay, so it doesn't support the custom taxonomy yet. So we can remove that. All right, then we have, let's see, let's move the title above. And we have the post info and the post excerpt. Okay, so let's go to the template. Let's go and give it some padding. And let's go and give it a background color. Go for kind of very light green. Let's go on the template and for row gap, let's say 30 pixels. And then let's go to manual and let's say 3 columns. And save. Let's refresh now, see how we're doing. Okay, kind of looking a little funky. I think I'm going to go back here to the image and let's get rid of that because that didn't work. And let's go and maybe try this at 2 and save. Is that looking a little bit better? Okay, I didn't get the background kind of for a card effect. So let's go back here. Notice there's no indicator. So it'd be nice to have an indicator when there is a style applied. Let's go to the template instead of the query builder. Let's see. The template style. For item style, let's add our padding in there. And then the background there. Okay, so that's working a little better then. And let's add a border and have the border be 1 pixel. Don't really see our border there. So maybe I'm doing something wrong there. Or that's not working on the item. Let's go to box shadow and let's set the color to be a light gray. Okay, save that. Take a look at how we're doing now. Not great, but can probably play around with this a little more. Let's go ahead and try to get our dynamic data in. We'll add after. We'll choose, let's just do the author image, the advanced image. Okay, and go for ACF, author photo. So we'll apply, and we will go to width, and we'll set that at, say, 100. Okay, and save, and refresh. Going to be marginally better aligned there. Okay, did that actually move it over? Let's go see. Okay, and we can add some margin under. Let's just add margin under this image. Okay, refresh. All right, so I'm pretty sure that with enough fiddling around, I could make this card look a little bit better. I'm limited by not being able to use the containers in here. And of course, if you have traditional landscape images, you don't run into the problem that I'm running into here. So that's an overview of GutenKit, and then to look at using GutenKit in the site editor. Now let's have some discussion and conclusions. So the GutenKit block collection is very extensive, has a ton of blocks, has a lot of templates. As I alluded to in the video during the walkthrough, I think what's happening is that the team is bringing the features over from the Elementor side to the Gutenberg side. Makes a lot of business sense that they would do that. Obviously, the team, the Wpmet team, knows how to do this and make users happy because they have Elements Kit, which is 1 million plus active installs. And as I mentioned during the making of this video, there were several updates where new features were released. I did find a couple of bugs when I was trying to make the video. I reported those, and a couple of days later they were fixed. I applaud the team that they responded really quickly to the problem report and got it fixed right away. I've noticed that the team has been active on social media, so they really want to get this launched and have another successful product. You saw that the single template, creating that for the books, went pretty smoothly. The archive template, I have some problems with the layout. I hope that's something they'll address. They could deepen support for dynamic data. For example, I think there is a star rating block that doesn't support dynamic data. And I showed with the button block, you can't choose dynamic data for the button text. Their blocks are more sophisticated than in many other block collections, both because they have a lot of blocks and the blocks have creative style animation options, and because they have a lot of blocks with different features. But also, out of the box, they're starting out with a query builder, the nav block with the mega menu. So I think this block collection shows some sophistication. I like the fact that they start out with support for the site editor. There are a number of block collections that have no support for dynamic data, or they don't work in the site editor. So I like the direction it's going. I think they're doing a lot of things right. I think it still needs a little more refinement. I'd be totally satisfied if a container block worked in the query template and I was able to get the layout I wanted. So that's my look at GutenKit. There's a text summary of the video available on the WebTNG website. Hope you found the video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.